So it's been quite some time since I last covered the game that you can really get your teeth into when it comes to come up with builds and theory crafting, but I'm very happy to say that Marvel Avengers is most definitely a game that does allow that. Now, we'll have a new guide series coming up. We're going to start off with the character you see on screen, the awesome Black Widow. This build we'll show off in the video offers a huge amount of damage, has an insane amount of survivability, it's a whole lot of fun, and offers a great amount of crowd control as well. You can see it on screen at the moment, it really is an exceptional build. So what we'll do in the video anyway, we'll break it down into sections. We'll talk about the stats you want to aim for with the build, we'll look at some of the useful gear perks, then we'll check out the abilities, and then at the end we have some high level Hive gameplay, and I'll play that on Brutal as well. But here we go, welcome to Black Widow's Now You See Me build guide. The moment then in the game, the meta for all 6 characters when it comes to builds is very much around increasing your heroic meter as quickly as you can, and that's what we focus on in this build. So when you increase your heroic meter, it means you've got really high uptime on the damage buff that comes from your ultimate heroic. You've got very high uptime on your invisibility, which comes from your support heroic, and then with Black Widow she gets various buffs when she is invisible, and then on top of that as well we're going for the range side of things because there is a particular ability we use there that allows you to stun enemies exceptionally quickly, and that means you can do takedowns and you can fill your heroic bar even quicker. But that's a quick overview of the build. Let me now show you the stats you want to focus on. With each gear piece at high levels offering 3 different stats, it means you've got 3 primary stats that you really want to focus on. Now, you won't always roll the perfect piece with the perfect amount of stats, so if you get other stats such as ones that can actually boost your health and so on, that's not a lost stat at all. That will help you out. It means you're not going full glass cannon. But the main stats that I would really focus on here, you've got precision. This is your most important one. This is offering you your range damage. The next one we have proficiency here. This will offer your critical chance, and then we have intensity, which will actually boost your stun meter when you do damage, so you can stun enemies even quicker as well. Now, there is a specific item for Black Widow that I've heard rumours of but I've not actually seen yet, that supposedly when you are invisible and you attack an enemy from behind you get 100% crit rate. Now, if that item does exist and you do actually find it, then what you want to do is you'll no longer focus on proficiency because you'll have that 100% crit rate when you're invisible, which will be a whole lot of time with this build, and instead you'll want to put it into Valor to boost your crit damage because you'll be getting your automatic crits. So that's the stats you want to focus on anyways. Let's actually look at some of the perks on the gear pieces. Currently then I'm very much still working on the gear for Black Widow, but I do have some pretty nice perks here that I can show off, and these are the ones that you want to aim for. So firstly, on this piece of gear, the bottom one, Shadow Ops modifier, it's 30% increased status damage from Shadow Ops attacks. Now, Shadow Ops attacks are ones when you fill out your intrinsic bar and it is flashing red, so you'll get the additional status damage, and we will very much be using status within this particular build. Next one here, bottom perk once again, so 15% increased critical attack damage when invisibility is active. So if you pair that up with the gear piece that offers a 100% chance to crit, this will be pretty amazing. Until you have that gear piece, the bottom perk on this one can be really nice. So this offers 15% increased critical hit chance when invisibility is active, whereas the last one was your critical damage. Now, moving on to slot number 2 here. This one, the most important part is the middle one. So this offers you cryo on full auto shots. Now, survivability can be an issue to an extent with Black Widow when she doesn't have the invisibility up, but you will have it up a lot with this build, but it can be an issue if you get caught out. So the cryo, what it does is it actually slows enemies way down, works on bosses as well. So when I've done the likes of the Abomination boss fight, you can slow him so much that he'll leap towards you and you've got a good few seconds to actually move. So that's really important, and I like to use it on the full auto build because that will help build your stun bar as well, and that is really important for takedowns, but that's exceptionally important there. We have this gear piece that I'll quickly show off. It doesn't really fit into the build, but this looks to be a very specific gear piece for her. You can see it's increasing the fire rate of all weapons, and it's increasing the damage of all weapons as well. Does offer gamma on pistol shot, and pistol shot isn't something I use, unfortunately, so I'm hoping to get an auto version of this that I could actually use, and that would be really nice. Now, looking at your defensive gear here, what you have, and this works out really great, is you've got Courageous Inspiration. This middle buff here, it grants a willpower burst when critically injured, and that has saved my bacon so many times. Bottom one we have then, this one here, it offers, probably the most important one is down the bottom, it's Spectre's Cloak. So this increases the duration of invisibility by 3 seconds. Now, on Black Widow, she has her main invisibility skill tied to her heroic, I believe it's 13 seconds, so this pulls it up to 16. You then have a shorter invisibility when an intrinsic bar is filled out. You actually hold your heavy attack, you'll throw down a grenade, and you'll go invisible as well. Now, it is only for 6 seconds, but this increases it as well. So every time you fill out your intrinsic bar, what you can do is you can get 9 seconds of invisibility, which is really pretty amazing. Now, just moving on here for heroic gear, I've got one more piece which can be pretty useful. The bottom perk here successfully lands 16 attacks in rapid succession without taking any damage to grant a damage buff. So this will probably kick in about at the same time you get your damage buff from Shadow Ops, so you're double dipping on damage there, so that can be really nice. Moving on to your major and minor artifacts now, so this one here is really important. It's a Ring of Nibelung. You get this via the post-campaign missions, so you'll need to work your way through the Reigning Supreme missions. You'll need to finish all the iconic missions for your heroes as well. Once you've done that, you'll get this as a guaranteed drop. Now, the perk we're looking for is the first one, so it comes unlocked straight away. This is Bountiful. It increases the amount restored by all orbs by 11.8%. So what you'll be doing with this build, you'll be trying to get heroic orbs to drop as often as they can, so you can get your heroics refreshed. So when you're actually wearing this ring, as an example, let's say it would normally take 5 heroic orbs to fill out one of your heroics. With this, it will only take 2 or 3. It really does boost that huge amount. I'm not sure if it is working correctly, it boosts it so much, to be honest. But looking at the minor artifacts next, you can see this bottom one, we've got a triple roll on your damage stat. So that's what you're aiming for, and that's what you're really going to aim for all characters, I would say, because this is where you can get the bulk of your damage nice and easy, and it looks like triple rolls on damage actually come up really often. So that's all the gear. Let's now look at the skills that pull everything together here. For the abilities here, we'll just look at the speciality and mastery tree, because the primary one you will max out anyway. Now, we have Unseen Fate first, very important. So enemies with low health that are affected by Veil of Shadows are instantly susceptible to takedowns. This allows you to get a lot of takedowns, multiple takedowns in the one enemy, one after the other. We then have Shadow Gift, so enemies defeated while Veil of Shadows is active have a 35% chance to drop heroic orbs. You can get a fair amount dropping there actually with that. Then we have Mortal Cloak, increases the critical attack chance for teammates cloaked by Veil of Shadows by a whopping 30%, and with the high uptime we have in that, that's absolutely huge to offer that to teammates. For the Assault Heroic, we have Super Static Charge, so with this, increases the range of the electric field generated by Widow's Bite by 35%, and the larger the range of this, the more likely we will be actually stunning enemies. Now, to stun enemies as well, we can buff it via Paralysing Bite, so Widow's Bite inflicts 40% more stun damage, increasing the chance to stun enemies, and of course when they are stunned, that's when you can do your takedown, and in turn that will be generating heroic orbs, and it gives you health back, and it gives you the animation where you are invulnerable as well. For the Ultimate Heroic, this one here, defeating enemies while Power Surge is active has a 15% chance to drop regen packs for all team members. There was nothing really that was that interesting to go for, so that's why I went for that particular one. We then have Kilowatt. This one here increases stun damage while Power Surge is active by 30%. Now, one thing I'll mention, when you do actually activate your ultimate, you will get the damage buff from it, but one thing you can't do is you can't hold down your heavy button when you're fully charged to go into your invisibility, so that is just something to bear in mind. There is a trade-off there. Do you want the additional damage or do you want the extra invisibility? So it's really personal preference for that. Now, just quickly before we go on to the next page, you have this here, which is Smoke Grenade, and that is the invisibility I was mentioning there. So when you are fully charged, or when you're overcharged hold down the heavy attack button and you'll throw down an impact grenade, but you go invisible as well. And with this buff here you can add an extra 2 seconds onto it. It starts off at 4 seconds, this brings it up to 6, and then with the gear piece we've got, we can bring it up to a whopping 9 seconds, which is pretty amazing. We start off the mastery tree with overcharge range, so with this it increases the ranged attack damage of overcharged by 10%. We then have intrinsic charge, all attacks increase the charge rate of the intrinsic shadow ops meter by 15%. Next tree here is bugged, but the option I would go for is heroic overcharge, so increases the rate at which heroic energy recharges while overcharged by 15%. We then have the ranged tree, so with this one you can throw out a grenade. This grenade will leave a lingering status effect. Now the status effects you can go for are plasma, cryo, or also shock. Now shock could be really nice because it gives you additional damage, however you don't do enough damage with these to fill out the status bar on an enemy to actually get the bonus from it. So for that reason I've just decided to supplement the cryo that I'm getting via the auto guns via the cryo grenade as well. We have fast reload next, increases reload speed by 15%. Invisible ranged, increases ranged attack damage while invisible by 12%. Next up it's extended invisibility. It extends invisibility granted from Veil of Shadows by 2%. And then we have critical ranged, increases critical attack chance by 7% for ranged attacks while invisible. Once you get the gear piece it gives you that 100% crit rate on attacks from behind when invisible, then switch over to critical damage here instead. Onto the final tree, this is really important, it's heroic takedown mastery, so performing a takedown spawns a heroic orb, so you'll be getting takedowns very often due to your invisibility and low health enemies. You can just do a takedown straight away on them. You've got the auto guns that bring up the stun bar on them to do your takedowns, so with this you'll have your heroic orbs flying all over the screen really. Now next up it's range damage, so this is increases range damage by 10%. And the final one is one we sadly don't use, it's melee charge, so light and heavy attacks boost the energy of all heroic meters by 5%. 3 options here, none of them are really important because it is a full range build I'm actually running. But that's everything you need to know to get the results we were shown off at the start of the video. So what I'll do to actually finish up now, we've got one of the last hives in the game. I think it is the last hive, the one that's got 14 floors, and we're playing through it on Brutal as well. I've not done the full gameplay or anything like that, but I've got a few minutes to show off so you can get a good idea of how the build plays and how powerful it actually is. But if you enjoyed the video, take the time to hit the like button, make sure to share it as well, and if you're not yet subscribed and you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button as well. But thanks for tuning in for this, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.
Every member of the elite team must be defeated.
Don't blink. This might hurt. But
That squad member has been neutralized.